And also what you can do is that you can generate a meme by attaching a text on top of that. So what I'm going to do is, this meme, I'm going to generate a new meme saying, you know, happiness is when you do a pair programming with a girl. So you become, very happy when you do with girl. It's about programming, right? Not something else. But just to create a meme, I have generated this tool, and it has some features such as you can download and you can, see the objects present in the image. So we are going to build this application. I wanted to punish Chamod as well, so I am going to show another meme with this image as well, which is very famous image, right? I have seen this image in different social mediums. So as you can see, this meme is about different frameworks which we are going to talk about today, about Angular, and then we have some other frameworks. So usually JavaScript developers are very famous using this framework. So I'm going to generate a meme saying that, okay, we are different frameworks and he's the JavaScript developer who loves those frameworks. So you can, this application is about how you can interact with the image, how you can plot those texts, and also how you can detect the objects present in the image. This application took just 20 minutes to build, for me. So you're going to do the same thing at the end of the session. So this is what we are going to see, and how Angular is helping you to build that particular application. If you don't like to listen to this session, or if you don't understand anything from my session, just let's play Ludo game. Just kidding, right? Okay, let's get started. I know the session is for beginners, and if you are experts on Angular, this session is not going to be favorable for you. I want to tell that beforehand, and I wanted to start with a small story, right? I think someone is not muted. If you can mute yourself, it would be good. It's okay. Okay. How much time would you have application, right? So I can.
திங்களுக்கு 12 ஆகஸ்ட் வந்துடா இப்ப என்ன ஒரு 2 கிழமைக்கு ஒரு கிழமைக்குள்ள இந்த ப்ரொஜெக்ட் பிரசன்டேஷன் வந்து இந்த மாசம் நடக்கும் வந்து சரியா ஆன்லைன்ல
எக்ஸ்கியூஸ் மீ
பிறகு சார் வந்து கிளாஸ் நடக்கிற டைம்ல சொன்னாரு
I think someone is not muted, which is I think disturbing, right?
மீட்டிங் கிளாஸ் அது பிறகு அதை பிரிச்சு போட்டேன் 10 12 மீட்டிங் 12 மணிக்கு வந்து சொன்னவர் எங்கள்கிட்ட உங்களோட இது வந்து உங்களோட பிரசன்டேஷன்
All right. He has muted himself. So as I mentioned, this session is going to be for beginners, and I wanted to start with a small story, right? How much time would you have thought to build this application? It just took 20 minutes for me to build this application. Based on my experience, when I was at my A-level, I was asked to build a simple website to, for a competition to display the world wonders in single website, right? So, and I took 20 days to build that application, which contained just simple images and some menus. But if you ask me to build the same application, or if I ask you guys to build the same application, you can build with 10 minutes, right? Because that's the flexibility that modern web frameworks that give you to build the application quickly. When I was a developer, I used to be very much familiar with jQuery. We used to attach the jQuery library or even JavaScript library with a single min file, and then we were able to build, the application with accessing the DOM element and then, button click and things like that. But if you ask me today, it's not about building your application. It's about the whole ecosystem, how the framework is supporting you to build, and also it makes you as a better developer, right? If I have to give an example, think of an example, say you are using iPhone, but in the old days when I was born, we used to have this, bigger telephone, which does only one thing, making calls. But if you take smartphones these days, you can do many things. You can play games, you can do a TikTok, you can upload some videos, you do a YouTube video streaming. That's how the front-end technologies have evolved in order to, build your web applications to the next level. I want to give an introduction to those who are very new to web frameworks, right? So when I started in 2005, we just had jQuery, and JavaScript. So when you build applications with jQuery, it becomes very strategic and cluttered, right? It is very hard to maintain because you are dealing with a lot of DOM elements, access, and things like that. Then a lot of frameworks came into place, things like Knockout.js, which provides a simple way to build MVC application, and then we had Ember.js in 2010, and then again in 2009 we had something called AngularJS, which was introduced. That's how I started my journey with AngularJS in 2011. AngularJS came up with some of those interesting things that solve many of these frameworks which didn't solve, which talks about better speed and performance, which talk about building modularized application, and then which we talk about building cross platform applications such as mobiles and then native and also desktop applications, right? And one of the important thing that it addressed was building single page application. So single page applications are the app that works inside the browser and do not need a page reloading or redirecting the users to another page, right? If you access Facebook, if you access Gmail, these are some of the examples that you can take as a single page application. You don't have to navigate. You don't feel the user navigation when you click on something else, right? So these are some of the examples. You can take Twitter, which has a single page application which doesn't redirect when you click on some other pages. So you can seamlessly feel the flow by accessing on a single page. So this is what most of the single page application frameworks have solved. So Angular came into the world in 2014 and attracted so many developers, right? In parallel, there are so many frameworks that came into existence as well. Every 6 months, there is a new features that is coming up on Angular as a release, and we have released Angular 9 in before 2 months, which you might be aware of that. Since we have some people in the chat, can anyone answer what is the number that I have posted on the chat, slide? It says 61,159. If someone can guess, I will probably give you a sticker when we meet. If someone can post, what is the number? You can simply guess. It could be anything, right? It could be, the number of people who are involved in Angular repository and things like that. Can someone give a right answer? I can remember. Okay. You can post in the chat. Guys, rather than telling I can remember, I do, please post what is it about, so others will get to know about it. Okay, then one has given the right answer. It's the number of stars that is info Angular repository, right? So that's how Angular has evolved in the recent years. So there are a number of developers who are passionate and building things around Angular. Okay, something. All right. So why Angular? If you are a hero, you should start building applications using Angular, not because it's just a framework. It provides a whole ecosystem to build the application and make it scalable to a next level, right? I have been an AngularJS developer for 4 years, and then I moved to Angular up to now. The transition and the learning curve is something high, right? So if you are someone from React background, or if you are someone from who doesn't know about anything about Angular, then the learning curve is bit high. But if you are familiar with WP concepts, or if you are familiar with AngularJS, then it's very easy to get transition into Angular, and it's challenging and also make your life easier, right? Yes, the initial learning curve is hard, but once you get hands-on with it, you will never leave Angular or explore any other frameworks. Let's see why you should get started with Angular, right? If you have seen from developers' perspective, Angular as a framework provides these, which none of the other frameworks does. A platform for integrated development. If you want to, plug in few capabilities, you could just plug in those and build features around it. Batteries included. When you say batteries, it has all the developer tools embedded, starting from Angular CLI to ShowsMap Explorer, in order to analyze how your application is performing. If you are coming from a developer background who has sounded knowledge on WP concepts and MVC, model view controller concepts, it's very easy to learn Angular, and it's always maintained by a team of separate members who are who is testing continuously, and it's up to date, right? When you talk about features, you can name some of the main features, such as including HTTP client. If you want to fetch some data from third API libraries, or want to do some CRUD operations, you can integrate with HTTP client. And then router is another one of the interesting features that Angular provides. When I talk about single page applications, it helps you to configure where you want to redirect the user without hard coding those routes. Routes means the path. Okay, when you click something, where should the user navigate to, right? So it makes those developer life easier without hard coding those components inside your application. And form is another feature which is widely used among enterprise applications. So Angular provides two ways of building forms, right? One is the template driven forms, and another one is the reactive forms. So when you talk about template driven forms, it is very easy to use, which is one of the things that I have started in the beginning when I'm building applications, and it provides two-way data binding. Those who are not familiar with two-way data binding, it's about updating your view whenever you update the model, and it's also the vice versa. And it's also provide minimal component code, so you don't have to worry about writing, large components. And then when it comes to reactive forms, it is more flexible, but it needs a lot of practice. If you are an experienced Angular developer, that's the way forward, and that's the way you should take it forward, right? And no data binding is done, and it's the more component code and less HTML markup when it comes to reactive form. And it provides another flexibility for developers to do the unit testing. And things like server-side rendering, which was introduced with the Angular Universal, it's all about server-side rendering of the initial page load, right? It pushes the initial loading of the Angular applications to the server for your improved performance. So you don't have to wait for the application to be get loaded. You can just focus on the features that your application has. And when you look at core concepts, things like easier for data binding and then testing, which comes with dependency injection. So dependency injection is one of the major concepts which I will be talking about in the upcoming slides. So I talk about Angular as a framework, and when you talk about Angular as a platform, what is it about, right? If you have seen the latest version of Angular 9, which came with IV support, so IV is the rendering engine that supports TypeScript version 3.7, which includes all these features which comes with TypeScript, such as optional chaining syntax. And also IV makes your development life easier, makes you to debug your debug your code by clicking on the particular error that is occurring, and it has reduced around 30 to 40% of the bundle size, which is finally generated as a build file, which is around 30% performant when you compare with the previous version. So these are some of the features which Ivy provides. One of the important features that I love is the debugging. So when I started with Angular 2, I had hard times when debugging the application, because I had spent 3 days to detect one particular bug, which is very famous among developer. It's not a known element, so I have to decouple all those components, couple all those services in order to find the root cause of the issue. But you can simply do that with Ivy. You can just click on the error where it's happening, and then you will be able to find the actual component that is causing that issue. And then language service is another feature that I wanted to talk about, which provides localization support. If you want to build localization support for your application, Angular team is working closely with StackBlitz to have those to make it as a go-to editor for Angular developers to code your application in the browser itself. And PWA is one of the favorite topic that I love about PWA, is that it makes it simplest, and it also uses the service worker in script, so that you can run your application offline by using the caching, right? So that users won't see a downtime when there is no internet. Most of the applications within Microsoft itself, we are using the PWA practices. Angular CLI is a must-known thing for all developers who are present here today. I will be showing on how to, build those component services using the Angular CLI. For example, when you're creating a large applications with over 150 different developers in your DevOps teams, you can automate by creating those boilerplate code by using, something called Angular schematics, which makes your developer team not to rebuild something again and again. If you want to code, if you want to do code check, then you can do use something called the code licer, which comes with the integration with Angular. And if you want to do some styling, you can go for Angular material, which provides a way to style your components. If you're a mobile developer who wants to start building hybrid application, then you can use Ionic, which works a similar way that the Angular works. You can build hybrid applications for iOS, Android, and also you can use something called capacitor to generate those build files using those Angular application. And then if you're building native application, then you can go for native script. Things like Angular Builder, which provides developers to build you a custom builder so that you can make your development life easier. And also Angular libraries is another one of the interesting topic, which you can build libraries and then make other developers to use your components and things like that. And web elements is one of the interesting topic, which can be used in a wide team to generate your own elements and then integrate with different applications whenever These are some of the things which makes Angular as a great framework or a platform ahead of other frameworks that are available. And this is very important thing. We talk about Angular as a framework, Angular as a Angular as a platform, and we are going to talk about Angular as an ecosystem. So one of the important factor in the strength of Angular is the community. So Angular team itself comprises of core team members, which consist of 50 to 60 members, and then we have extended team members called GDs, Google Developer Experts, which is around 110 as of now, across different countries, who are supporting or helping the Angular team to add features and then providing the feedback, right? If you see, there are 100Ks of users, active users, who are visiting the Angular IO site on a day-to-day basis. And we have seen 80% of 80 products within Google itself are built on Angular. And within Microsoft itself, we are using many of those applications built on top of Angular, including Microsoft Teams. Some of the, and one of the other thing that I wanted to talk about is the meetups and conferences. There are 800 plus meetups happening around the world in terms of Angular, and there are, more than 1,200 meetups happening in the world when it comes to Angular. And NG Sri Lanka is one of the conference that is being recognized in the world, for the Angular community in Sri Lanka. If you go to Twitter these days, you would see there are a number of GDs who are doing sessions on Angular. Just whenever you get time, you can explore those sessions and make use of those sessions to get started on Angular on deep dive, topics. All right. I talk about Angular CLI, but I wanted to go in detail and talk about, what are the features it provides. The Angular CLI is a command line interface. If you are familiar with any of those, cloud vendors, you will have GCP CLI and then you will have Azure CLI. It's the same way that Angular team provides the interface tool that you can use to utilize to develop or scaffold, maintain Angular applications. So basically, what it does is it drill down into npm, the node package manager, and we can simply do it through the Angular CLI. So if you want to generate a component, you can use ngg and then component. If you want to build a new module, ng new, and then whatever the application that you want to build. There are commands which you can use to create applications, and then components, which I will be showing the demo. And then setting up Angular could be tedious work for beginners. For most of you are in this call, but you can simplify with Angular CLI, which makes developers' life so easier. And I have come to the important concept of this session. And if you are a beginner on Angular, these are some of the concepts that you need to understand before getting started with Angular. I have given so many examples in the past, but in this session I made it differently in order to make it simple, right? I hope everybody knows about Sangha and Mahela. So that's the example that I have taken. Take Sri Lankan team as example. I have highlighted the special uh, building blocks of Angular in the red color. So you can have those terms in your mind whenever someone asks in an interview or whenever you get to know, what are the building blocks of Angular. It's are those 5 things that I have derived in this slide. So one is the module, services, components, pipes, and directives. We have some other components, some other concepts. I will be talking about that in the later session. But then these are the basic things that you need to understand before getting started with Angular. Take Sri Lankan team as an example that can be considered as a Angular application. And then module is going to be the 11 players that consist of the team that is performing on that particular day, right? So they are going to play a match and they are responsible for that. So it consists of a module consists of services, components, and then pipes. So when you talk about components, each of those 11 players who are actively playing on the ground, they will be the different components who does who are going to do perform different actions. And then directives are the their capabilities, whether he's going to be the bowler or whether they are going to be batting or fielding. Those are the attributes that makes those players you know uh, well well shown to the public or something like that. And then pipes are going to be the jersey that they wear, or the numbers that they wear. If you take Sangha, he used to wear a particular number, right? So pipes are going to be the thing in Angular which is going to format the data that you are going to show in particular component. And then services, you can consider physios, and then the water boys. That water boys are going to be the players, but who sits outside those playing 11, right? So those services are going to interact with those players to make them perform better, right? So if you take module is going to be the main, building block of your Angular application, which consists of services, components, pipes, and directives. And then components is going to be the key uh, block of your application, because you can consider component as a view, or it could be different components inside a view. So I will be explaining the demo application, what are the components present in that. And then directives are used to format your data in order to show it in a better view or in a structured view. And then pipes are going to make the data beautiful by uh, using those pipe. You can format and then make it present it in a better way. And then services are going to be used to communicate between those components in your application. So these are the basic things that you need to understand when you get started with Angular. And then dependency injection, which I talked in the previous slides, it's going to be the passing the dependencies to another component, or another services. So you can take 12th man as example in this case. So he's going to pass those information from your coach to the players. So you can take that as a dependency injection in this case. Dependency injection comes with a lot of benefits. It makes your testing easier. If you want to do some automation testing, and you can pass it through the constructor. I hope you might be knowing about what is a constructor. I am not going to explain. So you can pass those dependency injections inside within your constructor, and then you can utilize in order to do some testing, and also you can utilize the features of other services and things like that. I hope everybody understood about what are the basic blocks of Angular. If you have any questions, you can put in the chat. I will continue with the next slide. All right. So everything in Angular is about the components as I shown earlier, right? If you take a simple Angular application, this is how it's going to look like. So I have generated this particular screenshot from the meme generator that I'm going to demonstrate today. You can see how does the application going to look like. So you can see the configuration endpoint, configuration things that comes with Angular JSON, which consists of all the projects information that Angular application is going to have, and then it has the Karma config.js, which is going to be used for automation testing or unit testing, and then we have package.json, which is going to contain the dependencies that your application is going to take, and then it has something called tsconfig, which contains the dependencies or the TypeScript configuration that we are going to have in the application. I think I missed a few slides before coming to here. All right, I need to explain this before going there, right? So I talk about ecosystem, and then one of the important thing that I wanted to talk about is the TypeScript. So I mentioned about TypeScript. Angular is written on top of TypeScript, right? Which was founded by Microsoft just before 2 years Angular was announced. And if you wonder about TypeScript, it's a way of having well-structured and documented code. TypeScript is not a new language, but it provides a better way to document your code, and also mostly about the type checking, which makes you to write good code to run your application in production. So as I mentioned earlier, we support TypeScript version 3.7. So these are some of the advantages that TypeScript provides. It provides a code navigation very easy for developers. You can navigate your function or methods or even the definition easily from where you are, and then it provides code documentation easily so that you don't have to worry about writing comments. And then code precision is something that provides clear input and output formats for your methods, and provides the typing, so you won't have much bugs in production. And then code refactoring is one of the important things that TypeScript provides itself. So you can get the benefits, especially on VS Code, if you are using, since it supports TypeScript seamlessly. And then code thoughtfulness, it's something interesting. So it helps us to signature your function, so you can just write your signature of your function, and then you can focus on the implementation later. So these are some of the features of TypeScript. So you can write your application with the way you want. You can write in JavaScript or TypeScript, and then finally eventually it compiles into it transcribes into JavaScript. And then this is how the end-to-end experience is going to look like. So I have take a snapshot on how it's going to look like when you're using things like VS Code, but you can make use of integrations with WebStorm. You can use any of those text editors that are out there. But with VS Code, since we have a lot of extensions that support Angular, you can develop your application so easily, which makes developers' life easier. I talk about Angular CLI. Yes, I have come to the Angular app structure, which I talk about TypeScript, right? So you can configure your TypeScript configuration in the tsconfig file, and also this is going to be the bootstrap part, which we call bootstrapping of application, which is going to load your application for your initial time, which contains polyfills and then whatever the vendors that it requires. And this is going to be the whole part of your Angular application, or the logic of your Angular application. So in this case, we are going to use two components. One is to generate the meme, and one is to upload your photo. And other one is the normal app component, which is going to comprise of those two components that we are going to use. And then we can see the default module, app.module ts. So this is going to be the entire application structure. And you can see we have the node modules that is going to have the styles, not the styles, the packages that is going to be required by this particular application. And then we have you can see the styles and the assets that I'm going to use. So this is going to be the structure of any Angular application that you're going to generate. And if you have any questions, you can put in the chat. I would be able to answer them later. So if you ask me how that magic happens, right? So I talk about bootstrapping your Angular application. So when you start your application, what happens is that the bootstrap method starts the Angular applications. It is going to refer the app module which looks into the app folders where you have your app module, and then you will have the routing module which is going to define those routes, which is basically a list of all components that is going to render your application. So that's how a typical application works. It is going to start with the index HTML. It's going to take the app root, and it's going to load the app module, and it's going to load those services, pipes, and then other dependencies whenever you load the application. Template syntax is one of the important thing. If you are a developer, if you are developing forms, this is just a basic thing, right? So there are different ways of you can bind those variables. So Angular evaluates all expressions in double curly braces. It converts the expressions results to string, and then concatenates into literal string. So you can use the interpolation property if you are going to bind, and then you can do something called property binding, which doesn't convert the expression results into string, but then you can do that as well. If you need to bind something other than string, then into your directive or component property, you must do the property binding, right? That is one of the important things that you need to know. And then you can have something called event if you want to fire something based on a button click that we are going to see today. So when you upload a file, what should happen? So that is called the event. I think I covered. And then I didn't talk about routing, but it is one of the important concepts that you need to know. So since we don't have any routes defined in our demo application, I have taken a sample thing that you can see. So you need to define your routes in order to navigate the users according to the way you need. So if you have a home in your application, this is the component that they need to that you need to navigate the user to. If you have users with a particular ID, then you need to navigate the users to users component and things like that. And if there is a no route configured, then it will redirect the user to home. So this comes in Angular by default, so you don't have to hard code, or you don't have to you don't have to write those routing part manually. We used to do that with jQuery or JavaScript in the olden days. And then lazy loading is one of the important concepts. I know most of you are beginners, but if you are writing components for production, lazy loading you need to have. Lazy loading is the process of loading particular features of Angular application only when the user navigates to that particular route for the first time. It doesn't take much of your resources or the components at the first initial load, which makes the application faster, right? This can be very useful for increasing the performance of the application, and also it decreases the initial bundle size that is transmitted into the client browser. It is not mandatory to do if you are a beginner, but it's a very good concept that you need to know if you are a beginner. I wanted to cover that as well. And I talk about module. This is how the module is going to look like. As I explained earlier, with the context to Sri Lankan team, consider this as a module which is going to comprise all those components, all those services, and we call it app module. Modules are basically modules basically group the related components and services together, so you can have chunks of functionality which can run independently. So if you are generating a module for separate feature, you can have it separately. If you're going to generate a module for separate feature, you can have it separately. And then if you are going to have some modules which is going to perform some of the common things, then you can have something called shared module which you can use. So it is particularly important when you are designing a large scale application, when you are designing the components and then modules, you need to choose carefully. And then component is the basic building block of an Angular application. As you can see, I explained about a component is one of the basic building block, and also you can have more component. You can have more than one component in application, and also within one component you can load different components as well. In a normal app, component will have HTML, which is going to be the view, and then you can see the style, and also you can see the selector, which is going to be used to refer that particular component anywhere you want within that module, right? You can see in this particular language, a particular code, as you can see, I have also demonstrated the dependency injection. So we are injecting the router as well as the use the service in order to utilize those methods within your component. I hope you understood what is a component. And one of the important things that you need to understand when you are designing a component is that it should always be designed to do one unique thing. So you can't have a component doing multiple things. If you are designing a component for file upload, it should do only the file upload part. And a component code should not exceed 300 lines if you want to have a better performant application. And it should be small as much as possible. You can divide into number of components, but your component should not exceed more than 300 lines. That is one of the important thing that you need to know. And directives is one other important thing. It is basically used to alter the appearance and content of an element, right? So we have seen, if you're familiar with AngularJS, we used to have ng show, ng hide, ng click to do those click events. Those are replaced by some of the things with Angular. We have ng4 to iterate over elements, and then we have ng style, which are called the attribute directives, which usually defines those how the element should look like, usually dealing with styles and things like that. And there is something called structural directives, which usually used to render particular elements in the way you want. So you can use ng switch based on a condition. You can use ng if based on some conditions that you have, and then ng4 is one of the widely used structural directive in order to render your data in the particular format you want. And pipes is one of the widely, or not widely, but most of the developers you are using with Angular 9. It comes with built-in in order to use those services with if you want to subscribe and get those elements, you can use pipes, so you don't have to unsubscribe manually from the components after you subscribe it. So there are a lot of pipes available by default, such as date pipe, uppercase, lowercase, currency. There is something called impure and pure pipes, which I will not be talking about, but you can explore it later. So these pipes are used to format the data according to the way you want, right? So you can use something called date pipe, something called full date, in order to show the date according to the way you need. And finally, services, as I explained, you can consider Waterboy as as a service, and then Physio to interact with players to provide some of the things that they want. So you can use services as an example in order to provide the data that component requests, right? So service is one of the important concept. So you can call HTTP request to fetch those data and then bind it in the component. Components consume those services. So services can be used to interact with components to share data and things like that. So this is one of the examples that I have shown here. And then finally, I want to talk about one of the important things that is being discussed in our group, as well as in many of the developers that they wanted to argue or discuss about. So if you ask me which framework to choose, I would answer this way, right? This has been discussed so many times. So Angular is recommended for building large-scale enterprise applications. So I know most of you are beginners who are building, university projects. You can use Angular, but you won't use that entire features. I talk about Angular as ecosystem, Angular as a framework, Angular as a platform. You won't use all of those in your, final year project. I talk about different things, right? Custom builders, I talk about schematics, I talk about libraries. Those are frequently used in a large scale application. And if you feel that you're familiar with WP concepts, Angular is the best way to go. And if you're a JavaScript developer who deals with a lot of frameworks, and if you want to write your code in the way you want, then you can choose React. It makes your life so easier. So you don't have those rules defined for you to write the code according to the way you need, and it provides same features which Angular provides as well. But if you're looking for some structured way to build large scale application, then you have to choose Angular. And when you talk about Vue, I have used Vue in the past for building some of the small applications, which is also one of the large growing framework in the recent times. If you are building application that deals with visualization, if you are building application that involves dynamic elements, then it makes your life easier with Vue. This is my opinion, but I know many of you have different opinions. You can discuss that with me later. All right, let me go to the demo part. I know we have 13 minutes, but I'm not going to build the demo completely. I have provided the link. You can use that in order to explore the demo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a new application. For those who are beginners, you just need to download Node.js, as well as you need to install the latest Angular CLI. You can do with this particular command. You need to download the Node.js from this particular command. You can access the slides by going to this particular URL. If you're doing it right now, you can do it. Sajeetharan and then Angular from 0 to hero, and then you need to download the Node.js, and then you need to install the Angular CLI latest. I'm going to build the first application. I talk about Angular CLI that comes with the fun command engineer, which is going to build a new application for you. So I'm going to execute that particular command, which is going to ask, or it is going to scaffold the application, which would ask a lot of questions to you. Whether you want to enable the Angular routing by default, I'm going to say no, because we are not going to have any of those routes. Right. Before that, I want to explain with the whiteboard on what we are going to build. Right. I know you have seen the demo, but I'm going to simply explain for those who are very new to Angular. So this is the application that I have. You can see, which consists of simple component, which is the app component, and we are going to have two more component, which is called the upload component, and then generate meme component. And we are going to display the image as I have shown in the demo in the beginning, and we are also going to have a table which is going to render those features that are present in the image. So this is the whole application, and we are going to have two components basically, and then we are going to define one service to interact with passing the file to a cognitive service on Azure and fetching those details about the picture that is presented. And we are going to have one module which is going to comprise all those components as well as service. And then we are going to have zero routing, because we don't have any navigation defined. I hope you understood all the parts present in this application. You can see it is going to ask which CSS you are going to use, whether you are going to for SAS or CSS. I will go with CSS. It is going to generate those files by default, right? So you don't have to write those if you are a beginner, which is going to create or the template for you with the existing components and the modules, so you don't have to do that. I'm going to demonstrate what I have for today, because we are running out of time. But you can always go to my GitHub repository and see how I have built that application. So what you basically need to do is that you need to generate those components. You can generate using ngg make meme component, and then you can generate another component called ngg upload photo component. So what I have in app component is basically simple, right? Which has a title, and then I'm going to use the Angular material stepper, which consists of two steps. One is to upload the photo, and the other one is to create the meme. As you can see, I'm going to refer on the component called app upload photo, which has a upload button, which is going to emit event whenever you upload that particular file. And it's going to, this particular app upload component, you can see here, app upload. This is the component that I have used, which is going to have a simple file click, and then we are going to upload that file. So as you can see, we are using output event emitter in order to pass the file URL from the child component to the parent component. So you can see that I am emitting that particular file URL, and also I am emitting the file from the child component to the parent component. And if you see here, I am using something called input here. Let me show that, which is going to pass the image URL to the meme generated component. This is going to use one particular, PE file library, which is going to be used to plot those text in that image that I have shown earlier. What it's going to do is that it is going to create a canvas, and then whatever the input that you are passing, it is going to align on that particular image. So that's all about it, about this application. And finally, you can see the module. It contains, forms module, and also button, and also you can see that HTTP client module, which I am using, which I forgot to explain. What it does is it is going to pass the image URL to Azure Cognitive Service, and then it is going to detect what are the objects present in that. So you can see, detect emotion, you can detect accessories and things like that, age, and so on. If you're a beginner, you can explore more on cognitive service and what are the things you can build around it. I'm not marketing as a service, but it is one of the recommended service if you're building AI things around Angular or things like that. So that's it. You can see two declarations on the componenting, and we are going to bootstrap the app component initially in order to load that particular application. If I had to navigate to the application, and you're going to start with npm start, right? So what it does is it is going to build and then generate a build bundle JS that is going to have all your elements in a single file. So as I explained, with IV, it makes your application so fast with the bundle size less than 30% less than what it used to be, as you can see. And as I mentioned, you can always analyze your bundle size using a source map explorer. I have provided that link in the slide, so you just need to install the source map explorer, and then you can see which component or which library is causing much times in order to render in your browser. We have rendered the application. You can access your application in this particular URL whenever you need it. And if you want to change the port, if the port has been already used, you can. Again, the same thing that we have shown, right? So this is the complete application. So I uploaded an image, and then it's going to detect who are the persons in that image, and then it's going to detect age and things like that, and then emotions, and then you can create a meme according to the way you need. So that's a whole demo that I wanted to show today. Hope you like the demo as well as the meme that I have created. And Pramod, it's for you. So you can publish it as if you want to publish it in our Stack Overflow group. Yes, that's it for the demo. I hope everything went smoothly and you understood some of the components, some of the building blocks of Angular. And things to remember, right? This is one of the important things that I want to stress about. So if you're a beginner, always go to Angular guideline, which is called the Angular style guide, which defines how you need to structure your components, how you need to name your elements or the components or the services, the modules. So if you're starting Angular application, this is the best place to get best recommendation. And always analyze your bundle size in order to render your application quickly. Improve dev experience by utilizing those custom builders, Angular elements, and then Angular libraries, schematics to make other developers' life easier if you're working in a large team environment. And finally, automate everything. So you need to have CI/CD pipelines in order to deploy your elements. For Angular application, you can use Azure DevOps, or you can use Cloud Build if you're using Google Cloud. If you're using AWS, you can use the code pipeline. Always make sure you are doing those CI/CD pipelines in order to deploy your applications. Finally, I need to determine the hero for today. So I have a game. I'm going to present this Angular badge for the hero, right? You can see Angular badge, which is from the Angular team. So you can wear this badge whenever you go for an event. So let's start with the game. You can navigate to kahoot.it and enter this pin. I always start the session with this game, but I wanted to do it at the end in order to see how much carefully you have listened to this talk. All right, let me see if there are any. Kushi is the best. Who is that? Kushi. I know who is that. Let's see if there are others joining. Guys, join sooner. We have 4 minutes. Kapil, Shag. I will start when we have 25 players. Before that, I will show these few things, right? Make sure you remember these as the outcome of this session. I hope you understood the basic elements of Angular, and then I hope you understood how to create your first Angular application. I hope you understood how to make utilize of other features available in Angular in order to have the better environment to create Angular application. And finally, you need to automate building applications quicker or faster. All right, we have 10 players, guys. I have t-shirts as well, so I will give these badges and t-shirts to those who make it to the first 3. So those who don't know, you can just navigate to kahoot.it. You can use your mobile phone as well as if you're on laptop. Wow, I got 25 players. That was like a fire. Okay, I can wait for a few more minutes to see if we can get 30. It's going to be a very tough competition as I see, but it depends on how much effectively you can listen to my session, right? All right, we have 35 players. Let's get started. The first question. Pick the right CLI command I used to create the meme app. Which command did I use to create the meme application? Whether it's ngg meme, whether it's ng create meme app, whether it's add meme app, or whether it's ng new meme app. This is very easy. If anyone gives the wrong answer, I'm going to sue on it. There are 6 wrong answers. Okay. At least 14 of you guys have given the right answers. Let's see who is leading. I think I don't have to go to this. Wow. So it depends on how fast you answer the question, and also it should be the right answer, right? Make sure you click the answer as fast as much you can. Second question. Angular routing can be used to do what? To bookmark a beautiful girl's Facebook profile, and then to make a request to another HTTP endpoint, to navigate user from one view to another, and then whether to play Ludo King. Which one is the right answer? Oh, there are 26 who have given the right answer. Round of applause, because I hope you have listened to my session and it was good, I guess. Okay, let's see who is leading. Oh, Kushi is leading. Angular releases major version every 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Angular team is fun so that they are releasing every month. So it's every month or 6 months or 4 months or 3 months. I'm very happy today. There are most of the participants who have given the right answer. So it's every 6 months, right? I want to see this man defeated. If someone can answer quickly as possible. So the fourth question, which Angular conference is organized in Sri Lanka? If you give a wrong answer, I'm going to find the person. NG Ceylon, NG Lanka, NG Sri Lanka, those are jobless guys. Oh, there are 23. Oh, let me see who has said those are jobless guys. I am interested to see. I was kidding, right? So it's about making the community better. If you feel that if you have any feedback from the previous conference, please reach out to us so that we will have a better conference. Hopefully, this time we won't be able to do a physical conference, but we are trying to do our best. We have a new organizer, new lead in the team, Askar. So if you have any feedback, reach out to him. All right. Next, still okay. Run is leading that. I don't know the person's name, but I can see that uh, a new person is coming in the leaderboard. New person's name, right? Okay, we are going to the fifth question. How did the app component send the image URL to the theme component in the demo? Whether it's using input, whether it's using the output, whether it's using the service, whether it's using the state management using the HDR. I hope this is the question of those questions that I shown. Okay. I have explained in the demo that I have used the input. So input is the right answer, right? Let me see who is leading. Run is leading. Make sure to give your name in the chat because we are not sure who is Run. Okay. Will you use Angular in the near future to build your Angular application after this session? So this is not going to be a quiz. This is just to get the feedback, right? Whether you like my session, give true. If you, I hope to see some of the faults as well. It's great that I saw 34 people out of 35 who have given the right answer or the answer that I expected, and one person who has given the wrong answer should be a React fan. I need to see who's that, or Vue fan. Okay, let's see who is the winner. Kapil, that's the unexpected name, right? SPT, and the winner is going to be. You can put your name in the chat and the badges on. Let me go back to, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat. We have, I think I will take another 2 minutes to wind up this session. So if you have any questions, not on specific on Angular, if you have any questions on Azure, the cloud, you can always reach out to me. And also if you want to get started on something, some initiative, feel free to reach out to me as well. We are trying to build an ecosystem to help other developers. And then join Stack Overflow Sri Lanka and volunteer in G Sri Lanka. You can reach out to me or Aska or other team members. We have Divagar and then other team members, Saif. You can reach out to them. And then you can access these slides from this particular URL. And then demo is available in this particular URL. Put a star, right? I'm expecting more stars. And then if you have any feedback, feel free to go to this URL and rate my talk so that I can improve my sessions in the upcoming, sessions which I will be conducting with Slitforce community or with other events as well. I'm hoping to meet you all in another session. And thanks, Slick guys, for organizing this. And please, everyone, stay safe. And we are looking forward to, do more events in the coming future. Thank you very much. Bye. I hope that's it. Let me answer.
Thank you, Sajeetharan. Question for
I didn't see any question. Let me see if there are any questions. Someone has put lol. I don't think. Saji gives us a scan. Okay, guys. Long. Wow. I think that means okay. Sajid, please mute. Who has asked me to mute? I was a presenter, right? Create a meme for Kavisha. Yes, that's in my pipeline. Next, it's going to be Kavisha. And then, okay, some other, yeah. Shit, missed it. And, what are the plugin sections that you are using in your VS Code to develop Angular apps? So there are a number of plugins available. I'm using something called Angular 4. Angular 4 developers, I think that's it. Let me check. I can't remember the name. But there is a post which consists of all the, I think, top 10 extensions that you need to use. So I will be able to, send that across to you. In my current environment, I can see a lot of Azure extensions as now. But when it comes to Angular, I'm using the Angular default one. So there are extensions for editor config, and then there are extensions for Angular language service. There are extensions for Angular elements, and there are extensions for building the components using the intelligent capabilities. So it will automatically configure. So I have a list for that. I will be sharing that with you. Let me see. I think data binding hosting interpolation. I explained that in the slide. Anything else? Anything else? If you have any questions, please put in the chat. I will be able to. Savendu, I will be able to send you the list of extensions that you need to use, probably in the same link where the event was posted. All right, someone will say thank you. Is there any other question? Thank you. Thanks. You can unmute yourself and.
No more questions, right?
Thank you so much.
Wind up this session. So thank you so much, Sajeetharan, for allocating your valuable time with us. We know you have a tight schedules on weekdays, so keep supporting our community in future as well. And
that's the wrong thing, right? So I have time to create memes, so I have some time to spend with developers. So you can always reach out to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Thank you. Another news. Next month we bring another new session, current and tech talk session. So bear with us for more updates. Our social media, Instagram, Facebook page, and you can contact our office barriers in Sajeetharan for more future informations. So thank you once again, Sajeetharan. It's an amazing tech talk, and I hope you're doing good in your amazing home.
Amazing home. Yeah, I bought a new house, right? So you can see.
Yeah, I see. Okay,
thanks for the opportunity. Hope you all stay safe. Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye. See you. Good night. Stay safe.